Hello everyone, my name is Sean and I'm the artist and the creator behind Christ Life Art. All right guys, I'm excited today to get to share with you all about my latest Linocut for this year. It's titled Worth More. And so I hope you stick around and hear this one. It's all about how we don't have to live in fear as we seek to live a life that is dedicated to following God's will for our life. When we are trying to pursue Him and live for Him, we don't have to live in fear because of the value that God bestows upon us and how He will care for us as we seek to do that. And so again, I hope you'll stick around and be encouraged. All right, so this print gets its roots out of a verse in Matthew chapter 10, verse 31. It says, "Fear not, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows." So what I want to do today is just really talk about how this print should encourage us not to be afraid as we live our lives for Christ. So to do that, I want to talk really just about two things. It won't take long. But first up is the context. So like what was happening around this verse? What was the greater narrative of what Jesus was doing with his disciples? And then also to hone in on this section about fear. So how was Jesus trying to encourage his disciples to not be afraid as they went out and followed his commands? So first up, let's talk about the context. All right, so before we talk about how Christ addresses fear, first of all, we got to make sure we understand the context. So if you want to read all of Matthew chapter 10, it really shares a lot of that. All I want to do today is just kind of summarize a few things before we get to Christ talking about fear. So the main idea here in chapter 10 is that Jesus is sending out his 12 disciples. He's telling them to go out and proclaim, to go out and share the gospel, to proclaim that the kingdom of God is at hand. And that as they do that, he wants them to minister to others. So he tells them you should heal the sick, cast out demons, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead even. So we can see that Christ has given his disciples a level of authority and power to validate their message. That as they go out and proclaim that they will do these signs and wonders to back up what they're saying. So he says to go out and do that, but that as they've been freely given this ability, that they should not charge for it, that they should also give it freely. So the idea here is that don't go out and just try and get rich off of this. Don't concern yourself with acquiring more things, but trust that God will give you what you need as you go. So he sends them out to do that. He also warns them, though, that persecution is going to come. But he tells them, hey, to be as innocent as doves, but wise as serpents. So beware of men, act with wisdom, but also maintain your innocence as you go. And he says that they're going to be dragged before the courts, that people are going to throw them into the courts. They're going to bring them before governors, bring them before kings. But that as that happens, don't be afraid, that the Holy Spirit would give them the words that they need to speak in those difficult moments. And then he kind of sums up the whole section with telling them that the servant is not greater than the master. So that if Christ himself has been persecuted, that if he's been lied about and been persecuted, that they're going to endure that as well. They're going to face those situations. So don't be surprised when it happens. And so then he moves from that and he's going to talk about why they shouldn't be afraid. And why that's important for us is because we've been sent out. Sure, we might not have powers to raise the dead, but we do have ability to minister, to ease the affliction of others. And we should be doing that. But while we do that, we should be proclaiming the gospel to others. And so we shouldn't be afraid either. So what I want to do right now is just talk about that and why we shouldn't have fear. All right, so now that we've taken a look at the context, let's take a look at this section on fear and what Christ has to say about it. So we're going to start in Matthew chapter 10, verse 27 through 33. It says, "What I tell you in the dark, say in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim on the housetops. And do not fear those who can kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both body and soul in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? And not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. But even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. So everyone who acknowledges me before men, I will also acknowledge before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I will also deny before my Father who is in heaven." So here's Christ, and he's telling his disciples, look, you're going to go out, you're going to proclaim these messages, you're going to do these things, people are going to persecute you, all this is going to happen. And he starts off by telling them, look, Don't be afraid. What you've heard in the dark and what I've shared with you in private, now I want you to go out and proclaim among the people. And God does the same thing for us. That's what he's called us as his followers to do. The gospel, how it has changed our life, what he has taught us through his word. He says, now go out and proclaim that, share that, speak that to others. What I've done in your life, share it with other people. But that's going to bring some persecution. That might bring some hard experiences, but don't be afraid. What can people do to you? All they could do is really take your body from you. They cannot take your salvation and they cannot take your soul. That is what God has said. I am the one that can do that. So don't be afraid of other people. Follow me and trust me. I know what I have for you and I know where I'm leading you. Don't be afraid of other people. Follow me. And he uses to illustrate this idea, the sparrows. He says, 2 sparrows are purchased for a penny, but not one of them will have their life ended apart from God's will and God working over that. He doesn't just know when they fall, but he's providentially in control of all the situations and the circumstances around that. Man, God spoke a powerful truth into my life some time back, and that was that no amount of power from an enemy can take a day from my life. No enemy, no sickness, no circumstance or anything can take one day from my life that God has planned for me. And no amount of worry or fear on my part can add one day to that. And so he is completely in control over that. And whatever he has for me to accomplish will be accomplished. He will see that through. And so I don't need to be afraid of what's going on around me or what he's calling me into. I just need to trust him and follow him. Because why? I am more valuable than many sparrows. And so he says, Sean, no matter what you see in front of you, no matter how much lack of resource you have, no matter how much lack of time you have, no matter how much lack of energy you have, no matter what opposition is around you, don't be afraid. I am with you and I am over that situation and I will see that you accomplish what I've sent you to do. I'll give you the words to say in any difficult situation. I will be with you through it. So don't be afraid. Keep pursuing me and keep pursuing what I have for your life and where I want you to go. And so that's what I want to encourage you guys with today is that don't be afraid. God is over your situation right now. Whatever it is that he has called you to do, keep stepping forward in that. Have faith to speak what he has shared with you in private. The things that he has encouraged you with out of his word, encourage others with. Don't hold that back. And don't be afraid to share that and trusting that he will see you through those difficult circumstances and those situations. He has sent you out as sheep among wolves, but he's with you and he will not leave you and he will not forsake you. So keep speaking and don't live in fear over that. That's what we're called to do. The way that I sum up the mission of Christ Life Art is that there's one God. He's given us one goal, and that is his glory. And so I always end my videos saying that we would go in our lives glorifying him. And so do that, man. Trust him to watch over you as you do that, because you are of more value than many sparrows. All right, everyone. So that's all about my latest Linocut titled Worth More. So if you're interested in getting one of these handmade prints, you can check them out on my Etsy shop. These guys are printed on 100% cotton paper. It's a really nice thick paper. It gives a great print. These are also trimmed to fit with an 8x10 frame, so they're really easy to just drop in a quick photo frame. I'll also have some that are pre-matted to an 11x14. So both of those are on my Etsy shop. You can check them out there. And also take a look at some of my other prints. You might find some other things you like there too. Every purchase off of my Etsy shop helps me keep doing this, creating more art, creating more messages, and helping to encourage people in their faith. So I hope you go check it out and find some things that you like. Also, if you follow me on social media on Facebook and Instagram, I will be doing another giveaway. So, and another art drop as well. So follow me there, find out information on how to get entered and how to find art that I'm dropping around town. So Facebook and Instagram are the 2 places you can follow me. Also, a huge thank you to my patrons. So these are guys that support my work on a monthly basis and they help me keep creating. Man, I couldn't keep doing this if it wasn't for them. So I really appreciate them. If you want to find out how to become a patron and how to help support my work on a continual basis, I would love for you to check out my Patreon page and find out some of the tiers of support that are available and the different perks that you get for supporting my work. So Man, finally, I just appreciate you guys. Thank y'all for sticking around. I hope that the print was encouraging to you and the message behind it. And as always, I hope that you know that wherever you go from here, that there is one God and he's given us one goal, and that is to glorify him. So I do earnestly pray that you go glorifying him in your lives.